يا شهر الندى.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معاصيك، ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك، ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا. اللهم متعنا بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقوتنا ما أحييتنا، واجعله الوارث منا، واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا، وانصرنا على من عادانا. اللهم لا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا، ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا، ولا تسلط علينا من لا يخافك ولا يرحمنا. وصل اللهم وسلم على سيدنا محمد، والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تجعل نياتنا صافية لوجهك، وأن تيسر لنا الخير أينما كنا وحيثما توجهنا، إنك على كل شيء قدير. Lillahi ta'ala. May Allah grant us these sincere intentions and a good ending. Allahumma ameen. Inshallah, we will continue from where we stopped. We reach the section concerning the integrals of al-ghusl. فقال القاضي أبو شجاع رحمه الله تعالى رحمة واسعة: وفرائض الغسل ثلاثة أشياء. So Abu Shuja, he says, the obligations of ghusl are three things. أحدها النية. The first of them is the intention. وهذا لحديث الشيخين عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: إنما الأعمال بالنيات. And this is based on the hadith narrated by the two shaykhs from the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم: إنما الأعمال بالنيات, which means the deeds, that is the good deeds, are in accordance with the intention. So it is necessary for one to have a proper intention when performing wudu, ghusl, or any other act that requires an intention. فينوي الجنوب رفع الجنابة أو الحدث الأكبر ونحو ذلك. So the one who is junub, the one who has sexual intercourse, for example, intends to lift the state of janaba, or to lift the major ritual impurity, or an intention which is similar to that. وتنوي الحائض والنفساء رفع حدث الحيض أو النفاس. The woman whose menses terminated, the woman whose period terminated, or the woman whose postpartum bleeding ended, when she makes a ghusl, she intends not to lift janaba. The janaba applies to something else. So it is important that one not confuse issues and make an invalid intention. So the one whose menstruation cycle ended or postpartum bleeding ended, their intention would be to lift the ritual impurity of menstruation or the ritual impurity of postpartum bleeding. They can also intend merely to lift the major ritual impurity, al-hadath al-akbar. وتكون النية مقرونة بأول الفرض, and the intention must be accompanied with the beginning of the obligation. وهو أول جزء مغسول من البدن, and that is the washing of the first part or the first part of the body which is being washed. So in wudu, the intention accompanies the first obligation, which is the washing of the face. I mean, the first part of the body which is to be washed, and that is the face. In the ghusl, it is not an obligation to wash a specific part of the body. Therefore, one must have the intention when they wash that first part of their body, whatever part it may be. فَلَوْ نَوَى بَعْدَ غَسْلِ جُزْءٍ وَجَبَ إِعَادَتُهُ. So if one had the intention that only after washing a part of their body, the part that was first washed without a valid intention, one would be obligated to wash that part of their body again. Just as we explained concerning the wudu. ثم قال, then Al-Qadi Abu Shuja says, وَإِزَالَةُ النَّجَاسَةِ إِنْ كَانَتْ عَلَى بَدَنِهِ. The second obligation is the removal of filth, if there was any, on his body. أي المغتسل, the one who is washing. So the one who is washing his body for the ghusl, if there is any filth on his body, he must remove it first and then wash the area after the filth has been removed. وهذا ما رجحه الرافعي رحمه الله تعالى كما في الروضة. And this is the opinion that has been deemed preponderant, weightful by Al-Imam Al-Rafi'i. May Allah have mercy upon him. Thus, one wash, according to this opinion, is not sufficient to remove the najasa, to remove the najis, filth, off of the body, as well as wash for the obligatory washing of the ghusl. These two must be separate. One wash would not be sufficient. So again, according to this opinion, if one wash removes the najasa completely, it would only be counted for the removal of the najasa. One would need to then wash another time for the obligation or the integral of the ghusl. فلا تكفي غسلة واحدة عن الحدث والنجاسة. ورجح النووي رحمه الله تعالى الاكتفاء بغسلة واحدة عنهما. However, Al-Imam An-Nawawi rahimahullah was of the opinion that what is weightful, what has more weight in the school of Ash-Shafi'i, is that it is enough to wash once. If that one wash would remove the najasa, and it would count for removing of the hadith, the ritual impurity from that part of the body. So what you have is a difference of opinion. Some scholars, they said one wash is not enough to cover both the filth and the ritual impurity. And some scholars said one wash is enough to cover both the removal of the filth and the removal of the ritual impurity. ثم قال, then Al-Qadi Abu Shuja, may Allah have mercy upon him, says, وَإِيصَالُ الْمَاءِ إِلَى جَمِيعِ الشَّعْرِ وَالْبَشَرَةِ. He says, may Allah have mercy upon him, and to make the water reach all of the hair and the skin. وَلَوْ قَالَ ظَاهِرِ الْبَدَنِ لَكَانَ أَوْلَى لِشُمُولِهِ الظُّفُرِ. Now had Abu Shuja', may Allah have mercy upon him, said to make the water reach the all of the apparent body, rather than just settling for all of the hair and skin, that would have been better. If he said the apparent body, that would have been better. Because by saying the apparent body, that would have included the nails. For the nails must be washed too. And the nails, the fingernails, are not hair or skin. وَهَذَا لِقَوْلِهِ تَعَالَى, and this is based on the saying of Allah the Exalted, وَإِن كُنتُمْ جُنُبًا فَطَهَّرُوا. وَهَذَا لِقَوْلِهِ تَعَالَى وَإِن كُنتُمْ جُنُبًا فَطَهَّرُوا. وهذا لقوله تعالى وإن كنتم جنبا فطهروا. This verse in Al-Quran means, and if you were junub, then purify yourselves. If you are junub, then purify yourselves. Yani that is perform the ghusl. ولا فرق بين شعر الرأس وغيره. And in this issue, there is no difference between the hair on the head and the hair on other parts of the body. ولا بين الخفيف منه والكثيف. And there's no difference between the hair which is thin or the hair which is thick. All of it, inside and out, must be washed. All of the hair on the head, all of the hair on the face, all of the hair on the arms and legs, the back, the chest, the private area, front and back, all of it must be washed. والشعر المضفور وإن لم يصل الماء إلى باطنه إلا بالنقض وجب نقضه. And if one had hair which was braided or locked, then the water must reach inside of the braids or locks. One is not obligated to untie the braids, unloosen the braids, or remove the locks from their hair unless there is no way for the water to penetrate except by doing that. So if the water will penetrate the locks or the braids of the hair, one does not have to remove them. But if the water does not reach inside, then one would be obligated to do that. ويجب غسل ما ظهر من صماخي أذنيه ومن أنف المجدوع ومن الشقوق من البدن. Also, one is obligated to wash what appears from the ears and the curvatures of the ears. And the one who had a nose which was cut off, one would be obligated to wash what appears from their cut off nose. And if one has cracks in their skin, one would be obligated to wash the cracks of the skin as well. That is the inside of the cracks, for that is a part of the apparent body. ويجب إيصال الماء إلى ما تحت القلفة من الأقلف. And one would be obligated to let the water reach the underneath of any folds in their skin. If one is overweight and they have folds around their waist, for example, or one has folds under their arms, then one is obligated to make sure that the water reaches the folds, in between the folds, in between any crevices of what is apparent from their body. وإلى ما يبدو من فرج المرأة الثيب عند قعودها لقضاء حاجتها. And the woman who is deflowered, the deflowered woman, a woman who is not a virgin, she is obligated to wash, to make sure the water reaches the part of her front private part that appears if she squats down to relieve herself. So when she squats down, the labia minora, which are what's called the two lips that cover the vagina, will spread apart. So this area that becomes exposed when she sits down, squats down to relieve herself, this is counted among the apparent part of her body, and she must wash it as well. وَمِمَّا يَجِبُ غَسْلُهُ الْمَسْرُبَةُ. And among what is also obligatory to wash is the anus, لأنها تظهر في وقت قضاء الحاجة فتصير من ظاهر البدن. Because when a person goes to the bathroom, this part of their body becomes exposed. Their buttocks would spread apart and their anus would be exposed. So they're obligated to wash that since it becomes a part of what appears of their body. So again, one is obligated to wash all of the skin, all of the nails, all of the hair, inside and out, the ears, the curvature of the ears, any folds, any cracks, any crevices, their navel, their belly button, whether it is exposed or whether it is depressed. They say an innie or an outie. Whatever the case may be. All of that must be washed. And of course, anything which is on the skin that prevents water from reaching the skin, it must be removed. Like fingernail polish. Fingernail polish must be removed. One cannot make wudu on top of fingernail polish. And likewise, one cannot perform a ghusl on top of fingernail polish as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a'lam wa ahkam. And Allah knows best. We will stop here for today and inshallah continue tomorrow with the recommendations of the ghusl. اللهم سامحنا واعف عنا واجعل القرآن ربيع قلوبنا ونورا لأبصارنا وجوارحنا يا أرحم الراحمين واغفر لنا يا ربي فإننا مؤمنون لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. رب اغفر لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات وبارك الله بكم وأحسن الله إليكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
يا شهر الخيرات والإحسان والبركات يا رمضان